Full House. You're working at CBS, I believe, doing the morning show.
Yes.
They decide that you should part ways, and something happens. What goes on?
A friend of mine, my manager, at the time, Brad Gray, told me that Jeff Franklin, who produced Full House, wanted me to still play Danny Tanner. And they had another person cast in it, but they recast it, which is, I have a little guilt still for. And I flew back to L.A., which was good, because at the time I had a wife and a child, so I needed a job. And Full House was something that just happened. And we did this pilot, and it got picked up by ABC.
Did you expect the success that you found with Full House?
No. I knew it was something special. I committed to it 100%. I'm an actor, so I went in and did it and loved the kids as much as I could. At the time, I had a 1-year-old, and the youngest person on the show was 1 year old. And the other kids, Jody was 4, and Candace Cameron Bure was 9 when it started. So I kind of lived that life and had my own 3 daughters. By the time Full House had ended, I had 3 daughters.
So is there a room on the set where you would go in order to be the filthy mouth individual? Because, of course, we can't say most of the words that are in this book, but you were able to deal with it on the set where that was also not allowed.
I was a bit manic on the set, and I was also, even when there's kids, like I'm doing book signings, I'm doing one at the 92nd Street Y tonight, and it's difficult if there's kids there. I do stop myself because I am a dad. It's a conflicted thing. So I was on good behavior, but sometimes I did some inappropriate acts.
All right. Well, let's talk about some of the training, some of the people that you've met who have encouraged you, some of the people who you have admired. Richard Pryor, Critical Condition.
Richard Pryor was the star of a movie, Critical Condition, and I got a part in that before I went to CBS to get that morning program. And it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. I'd met Richard through the comedy world. I was hosting at the Comedy Store, and he was an iconic man and maybe one of the best stand-ups that will ever live, and influenced me quite a bit. And so I got to be in High Point, North Carolina with him for 3 weeks with amazing actors Joe Mantegna and Ruben Blades and Rachel Tickerton. It was this great experience, and I was in a Paramount movie.
Next person, David Letterman.
I met him when I was at the Comedy Store, and he was just going off to go do his morning show that was on NBC for a while. And he had actually, I think, he did. He had a date with my cousin, and I told him it was okay if he slept with her, and that made him laugh. And then I was on his show over the years a lot of times and never brought that story up again.
Probably one of the reasons why he keeps having you back. What do you think he's going to do next? What do you think a role like that, after doing something like that for 30 years? Because you've had many different careers within your comedic career.
Well, it takes me back to David Letterman is our one of the best people that will ever do that, if not the. And it takes me back to Johnny Carson, who I had a wonderful experience, did his show. I know the numbers, we know the numbers, but 13 times I was on with Johnny, and I was on his show 2 weeks before he parted ways, and he was 30 years on the air. And it was a decision to make before he talked about this before he declined, and before he just wasn't, he'd had enough. He felt like he'd run its course. And so I can only assume, I know if David's so smart that he's doing what he needs to do.
Any chance that Bob Saget would be interested in doing a gig like that?
Someone else asked me that. I find it interesting, but I don't think I would. I would choose a bunch of people before me.
Yeah, but
they
chose, for example, they were looking for someone for Full House before they found you.
That's true. That's true. So maybe they'll hire that guy, and then I'll replace him.
That could work as well. America's Funniest Home Videos.
Right.
Yeah. Did you think that was going to be the success it was?
Actually, it was a special, and it beat 60 Minutes.
Right.
And I watched the tape of people just getting hit in the groin,
which fits very nicely with much of the book.
It does.
Yeah.
But the book is.
There are a lot of comparative details in there.
It's about being down under a lot, and it's people getting hurt. It was people liked it. It was kind of like silent film, and it became Yahoo.
Yoo-hoo?
You can cut this, right?
YouTube.
YouTube. It became Google.
It became Google. Well, in your dreams. Can
I have your number to text you?
Not a chance. Let's talk a little bit about your career as a stand-up and what you learned doing that and how you apply that to what you're doing now. Because stand-up, boy, that's brutal, man. You're on the road, and you've got a lot of people that maybe don't like you.
And I don't go where people don't like me anymore, which is a nice thing to have arrived at.
You can afford that, right?
And then I'm older and in my, I'm in my 30s now. So but I do the road when it makes sense. I'm going to Australia. I've never done that. I'm going to do dates there. Dates meaning stand-up. And then I've got some other theaters I'm doing. I really
Are you still doing the Guitar Gently Weeps
No,
act?
and you're one of the few people that knows this, and it's in the book.
That's
you got
why
the book,
I know
and
that,
the book dropped today. They shouldn't call it drop. They call it opening. I don't know what they call it. I used to sing the great George Harrison song, While My Guitar Gently Weeps. I had a cheap guitar with a water bottle hooked up to it and a valve and a tube, a garden hose, and water poured out of my guitar while I sang My Guitar Gently Weeps. And the reaction was much like what I'm receiving right now, and my pants were covered in water. And you could only do it in front of like 50 people, if that.
Right, doing it in front of a stadium probably not going to work.
Did it in front of a couple thousand people and nothing.
I'm only going to give you 10 seconds, but tell us about a tank and why learning about being a tank is important almost in any business.
Rodney Dangerfield told me, and he was a mentor of mine, that what you do in stand-up, in show business, is you just go like a tank, just like a tank. People want to stop you. People don't want you to make it. You go with blinders on. Just go like a tank.